Hey, what's going on, guys? Pete here with MixBetterNow.com, and today we're going to be checking out the all-new Slate Digital Virtual Tube Collection for the VMR. Okay, so I have the new virtual tube collection open on the screen here inside of the VMR. We're working inside of Studio One. This is the session Stella song from Zach Jones and the Tricky Bits. And I currently have this as the last insert on my mix bus. Okay, we're looking left to right at the London, the New York, and the Hollywood modules. Okay, what the VTC is they are 3 plugins that recreate the sound of classic vintage tube circuits. Each of these can act as a preamp, a saturator, or a virtual tube summing console, which is super cool. They all add color, warmth, depth, punch, and vibe to your mixes or to your audio. I know those are a bunch of buzzwords, but I'm sure that we all have our own interpretation of what those mean. And as if that wasn't cool enough, if you have the VMS or the virtual microphone system, you can use these VTC preamps with the different mic models that it comes with. So just cruising along on the feature set that it has here, they have VU meters at the top, okay? And what these show is the output in RMS. 0 on the VU meter indicates negative 18 RMS. Right below that, we have the clipping bulb, and this essentially indicates the amount of clipping applied to the input signal. This will get brighter the more saturation that it has and the harder that we drive the unit. So to the left of the clipping bulb, we have the mode switch, and we can toggle between the preamp and the console. And this essentially chooses which algorithm is selected. On the right-hand side of the clipping bulb, we have the color switch, and we can go between normal and push. Now, normal recreates realistic properties of the tube circuits, while push will amplify the non-linearities to add even more expression, vibe, and color. Below these 3, we have a saturation knob, and the harder we drive the saturation knob, the more of all of this stuff we're going to get, okay? Below that, we have a high-pass filter with a very gentle 6 dB per octave slope, which is a awesome idea and a very cool feature to have on this. So, for example, if you have this on a vocal and you have a lot of rumbly low end, you can roll a bunch of that off. I'll show you what that sounds like in a minute. We also have an output knob here. We can level match, we can boost our signal, whatever we want to do. And then finally, we have an awesome mix knob or a wet dry knob, whatever you want to call it. So that way we can blend in different amounts of dry and wet signal or sort of run it in parallel on whatever audio source you choose. All right, so one more piece of housekeeping before we get into the audio. I just want to explain briefly what these 3 modules sound like. They're all based on different things, and they all have different audio characteristics. So the London, which is on the left here, this is inspired by European tube circuits. It has a big sound with warm and bold lows and low mids, smooth top end, thick transient response. I would say it's very easy to fatten tracks up in preamp mode, which is very cool. The harder you drive the saturation, the thicker the sound is going to get. And when you're in the console mode, it adds a very nice fat analog body to the audio. In the middle here, let's pop this off for a sec. We've got this is the New York. Now the New York is a little bit different. What this does is this blends sort of 2 different types of circuits. It blends vintage tube circuits, and it also blends New York solid state discrete circuits, which results in a sound that's very tight and impactful. It has aggressive mids and tight lows due to its dynamic harmonic saturation. It's got a lot of focus and punch in the preamp mode, especially in the push mode. And it's just an all-around great tool. It sounds very, very nice on the console mode, and it's very usable, in that scenario. Moving to the last one here, Hollywood. Okay, this is probably the most colorful of all 3, the most vibey. It's the least subtle, I guess would be a good way to say it. There's a lot of nice, beautiful air in the top end. It's got some very cool depth and excitement, but it has huge bottom end. So this would be something you want to reach for if you really want to crank up the low end, the kick, bass, all kinds of good stuff like that. And in the push mode, it can make sterile tracks sound really big and sort of come to life. All right, so now let's take a listen to what these sound like. We're gonna go from the second verse here into the first chorus, and what I'm gonna do is I'll pull this in and out. We'll start with the minimal settings. This is the London first up, and I'm gonna be turning a bunch of the knobs so you could hear what it sounds like. Here we go.
Don't let me linger when we touch. Don't let me light your cigarette and make you blush. Don't pour that second glass of wine. Don't let our fingers intertwine. Don't let me linger when we touch.
So I drove it a little bit hard there just so you could hear how it breaks up. Obviously, that's not something that I would use, especially on the mix bus. But, you know, it's there. We have that gain at our fingertips. I think it sounds good around 3. Let's go ahead and flip it into push mode now to see what that sounds like.
Don't let me linger when we touch. Don't let me light your cigarette and make you blush. Don't pour that second glass of wine. Don't let our fingers intertwine. Don't let me linger when we touch. Although
So for me, push on the mix bus probably would not be what I would go for here, but I really like it on normal and with a nice, subtle setting around 2 or 3. It can really add a lot of punch, fatness, and weight to the overall mix bus. Okay, let's go ahead and listen to this high pass filter here, and you can hear how it will roll off a lot of the lows.
don't let me linger when we touch. Don't let me light your cigarette and make you blush. Don't pour that second glass of wine. Don't let our fingers intertwine. Don't let me linger when we touch. Although I want so much to hold you, take you dancing beneath the stars, and I could kill the man who told you.
Okay, so I hope you're hearing what I am. It really does have a big sound with warm, really bold lows. The kick gets really big there. It's almost a little bit too much for me on the mix bus. But that's what's great about having 3 of these, because you can sort of pick each one to tailor to whichever sound you're trying to dial in. Let's bypass this and turn on the New York. Okay, so this is the exact same settings. Let's just listen to it as it is with the saturation on 1. I will turn the saturation knob. We'll hear how it sounds.
Don't let me linger when we touch. Don't let me light your cigarette and make you blush. Don't pour that second glass of wine. Don't let our fingers intertwine. Don't let me linger when we touch. Although I want so much to hold you, take you dancing beneath the stars, and I could kill the man who told you. You don't deserve the love that's pouring from my heart.
Okay, so for the mix bus, I find this one to be a little bit more appropriate. I hope you can hear some of that solid state characteristic that it has. Very aggressive mids. It tightens the lows, but I love how it makes the mids poke out in a very pleasant way here. This would probably be something that I would reach for, like I said, on the mix bus over the London. They both sound great. They both have their own thing going on. But, it's great to have both options. Lastly, let's take a listen to what the Hollywood sounds like. Like I said, this is going to be the most colorful of all 3. So let's check it out.
Don't let me linger when we touch. Don't let
Okay, so lastly, I'd like to take a listen to the VTC using the console mode. Okay, so this is a very unique way that we can use this, a very cool way that we can use this. When I think of a summing console, I think of going through an analog desk, analog summing, and getting all of those non-linearities, all of those analog intangibles that sound so good, with recording and mixing through analog desks and analog gear. Now, the way that I typically mix is I will use what I call all buses, and these are just basically VCAs. Okay, so all drums, all percussion, all music, all vocals, things like that. And instead of using a VCA fader, I will use a bus. And the reason I'll use a bus is because a lot of the times I might want to add a little bit of EQ or compression to a group of tracks, because all of my all buses are right before my mix bus. So they get sent into my mix bus. And sometimes I might just need to add a little something or take something away, hence why I use buses. So what I've done, and I thought this would be a great way to show how this sounds, is I've put each one of the modules on each one of the all buses. So I have all drums, all percussion, low end, all music, all vocals, and all effects. And on the first row, I have the London module set up. And what I've done is I've made it uniform across all of the all buses, okay? So we have the saturation set to 7. We have it set to console, normal, and everything else is the same. Right below that, going across, I have the New York channel set up, except on 7. This is on 6. And I wanted it to have enough of the sound audible, so that's why they're at a little bit different settings, because they all are sensitive in their own way. So this is at 6, and then below that we have the Hollywood, and this is at 5. So I feel like you could push the London a little bit more than you could push the New York, then a little bit more than you could push the Hollywood. That's just my opinion, of course. So what we're gonna do is we'll listen to this. We will start with the London, and we'll bring all of these out. So you're going to hear this across all the tracks, and you'll essentially just hear what it does to the audio. Same spot, second verse, and I just have to highlight these, and we'll start with these off, and then we'll get into it right now.
Don't let me linger when we touch. Don't let me light your cigarette and make you blush. Don't pour that second glass of wine. Don't let our fingers intertwine. Don't let me linger when we touch. Although I want so much to hold you, take you dancing beneath the stars, and I.
Okay, so with the London there, it just kind of beefs everything up a little bit, adds a lot of weight, and it makes it sound very, very analog in my opinion, and very tubey, of course. Just sounds great. We'll turn this one off, and then we'll check out the New York next. Okay, we'll start with it off, and then we'll bring it on. Here we go.
Don't let me linger when we touch. Don't let me light your cigarette and make you blush. Don't pour that second glass of wine. Don't let our fingers intertwine. Don't let me linger when we touch. Although I want so much to hold you, take you dancing beneath the stars, and I could kill the man who told you you don't deserve the love that's pouring from my heart.
Really love the way the New York sounds. It just does this really sweet, sweet thing to the mids. I find it very usable. And that, like I said before, just keep in mind, I'm pushing these a little bit hard so you can really hear what they do. Last up, let's check out the Hollywood. Again, we're going to start with it off, and then we'll go on.
Don't let me linger when we touch. Don't let me light your cigarette and make you blush. Don't pour that second glass
Tell you what, when you take the Hollywood out, you really notice how much of that low end you miss and how much it adds to the overall size of the bottom. I really love how distinctly different the three of these modules sound, and it's a great thing to be able to sort of pick and choose which tonality you're going for based on what audio source you're putting them on. All right, so this has been a quick little overview of the brand new Slate Digital VTC for the VMR. That's the Virtual Tube Collection. We've checked out the London, the New York, and the Hollywood. We've listened to it in preamp mode on the mix bus a little bit, and then we checked it out on my all buses in the console mode. I love the variety here. I think they sound great. For those of you that know me, I do not do plugin reviews or demos of stuff I don't like or that I don't use. Big fan of the Slate stuff. Got it all over my mix bus, all over my mixes, and I can absolutely see these making their way into my workflow and into my templates. All right, so that's it for me. My name is Pete with MixBetterNow.com. I just want to thank you for your time. I appreciate you watching. If you like this video, please like, subscribe, and share. I hope you all have an awesome day, and I will catch you next time.